And I think it is just about time that we get started. Hey, I am Coach James, and I am the host of AtTheTrack.live. I am also the creator and lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics. What is All About Aerodynamics, you asked? Even if you didn't ask, I'm going to tell you. All About Aerodynamics is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students about physics, about aerodynamics, about lift, about drag, about Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion, about kinetic energy, about potential energy, about drag, about downforce, about a whole range of physics-related topics. And after I have taught them all of the science, we bring in about 400 different Hot Wheels cars, and each student chooses a Hot Wheels car they think would be fastest in a series of races. And they set up a 20-foot drag strip, and we set up a tournament, and we race the cars, and the students get to observe how their cars perform. Did their car perform up to or below their expectations? And if they had the opportunity, would they choose that car again, or would they make a different selection based on the observations they've made? And that is essentially what All About Aerodynamics is about. But before I can bring in hundreds of Hot Wheels cars to schools for students to use, I have to make sure that I know which cars I'm bringing in so that I know which cars I'm taking home, and so that they're easy to find and easy to put away. So what I have to do is I have to take each car, I have to take a picture of the car, I have to take a video of the car, I have to enter the name of the car into a spreadsheet, I have to give it assign it a number, and all of that allows me to know which car is being used by which student. The problem is, like most Hot Wheels collectors, every time I go into a store that sells Hot Wheels, I take a look. And if there's something I see that either I think that I would like or that I know that the students would like, I end up buying that car. And because Hot Wheels are only $1.25, I end up buying more cars than I've had a chance to enter into the spreadsheet. So I have storage bins that have hundreds of Hot Wheels cars in them that haven't been opened, and I can't use them with the science program until I have cataloged them. So usually before AtTheTrack.live, what I would do is just grab a bunch of the cars, sit down, put something on Netflix, and just go through the process. Take the picture, take the video, enter the information into the spreadsheet, and move on. But then I got the idea, what if I could turn what I have to do into something that's fun to do? And that was the origin for AtTheTrack.live. So with AtTheTrack.live, I am going to go into the storage bins, and each week I pull out 6 cars and crack those open. We take a look at them, have a little review, and after I have the 6 cars opened up, take them to the track, have a little mini tournament, see which car is the fastest. But wait, there's more. If you go to AtTheTrack.live and you have 3 options. One is the YouTube stream link, one is the Twitch stream link, which you don't need because you're already here. But the third link is choose a car. If you select that option, you will be taken to this page, and on this page you can scroll through and see all of the cars that are currently in the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet. And I think at last check, we are up. We're definitely over 600. We crossed 600, I believe, 2 episodes ago. So that's a big milestone. But if you see a car in here that you think would be faster than one of the cars that I have cracked open, then all you have to do is find the car that you think would be fastest and enter that number into the spreadsheet. So if you notice, all of the cars are numbered. So for example, if you think that, which one? Let's see. If you think this trim TRK trim truck would be faster than whatever car I crack open, you can click on it and you can get a close-up view. The cars are on a mirror, so you can actually take a look and see the reflection, if it's a metal base and a plastic body, or a plastic base and a metal body, if that makes a difference. In some cases, it will be metal on metal with some of the older cars. But once you find the car that you want to pick, all you have to do is take the number, in this case 203, you drop that into the chat. I will pull that car, and it will get a chance to race against the cars that I have, the 6 cars that I've opened that day. Now, if your car happens to beat those other 6 cars, then you will get a chance to race against our champion car. And our champion car, why do I have 3? Oh, I just saw this. As I was scrolling through, I thought I had 2 of the same cars. This 322 Volkswagen Koffer Racer and this Megane Trophy. They just have similar looks, but different cars. Let's take a look. This one's a sort of tricked out VW Bug. It looks like it started off as a Beetle, and now it's something else. And this one, just a Renault hatchback. So if you think one of those, all you have to do, take that number, drop it into the chat, and again, I will pull the car, we'll race the cars, and we will see what happens. And like I said, if the car that you pick happens to beat out the 6 cars that I have pulled, then you will get a shot at the title. The shot at our fastest car, which is around here known as our fastest in fleet car. And for the last couple of weeks, that car has been this one, the Group C Fantasy Car. And it is our reigning and defending fastest in fleet car. It has beaten out all of the challengers, and we will see today if we have a car that can beat it. So that is what we're looking at, the Group C Fantasy Car. And if you want to see how and when it became our fastest in fleet champion, all you have to do is go to our YouTube page, and if you click on the live tab, you'll see a listing for all of the At The Track Live episodes, and they have time codes, and the cars that were introduced are listed, so it's easier to find the episode you're looking for or the specific part of the episode. So if you just want to watch the races, you can click the link and do that. If you want to watch just the reviews, you can click the link and do that, or you can watch the entire episode. I'm not opposed to you doing that. And you can see how this car came to be our fastest in fleet champion. So that is the Group C Fantasy Car. But today we are going to have some new cars that are introduced. But I also, on each episode, that's not the only time that people make suggestions about which cars they would like to see racing. And on occasion, people make suggestions through our Instagram account. And if you're not following us on Instagram, you should be at AA Aerodynamics. And that is where I will post countdowns and reminders about At The Track Live episodes, because typically we race on Saturday, and this is a rare Sunday episode because I was out of town. But typically it's Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific, and during the week I'll post up information and sometimes go live on Instagram to give a little preview of the cars that are going to be racing, and that will allow you an opportunity to see the cars that are coming up, then go to the page that has all of the cars listed and be a little more strategic about the car you pick to race against the cars that are coming up to race on Saturday. So today I've pulled a few cars, and I actually pulled 7, and you'll see why. Really, actually, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I pulled 7, and 1 might not make the cut, and you'll see why when we get to that. But before that, as I mentioned, sometimes people go to our Instagram page and make suggestions or send me DMs about cars that they think would be fast. And we got one message from an account, Custom Hot Wheels Philo B Dow. I don't know how to pronounce it, but anyway, he was saying that when I was a kid, we used to race for cars, and whoever wins gets the other kid's car. And so basically racing for pink slips, except in this case it was actual Hot Wheels. The winner of the race gets the other person's car. And he was saying that one of the fastest cars that he raced was a Stalker. And there were a lot of the older cars that had the Stalker label in them. And I'm just trying to get this one positioned. There we go. And he was saying that his favorite and the fastest car that he raced was this one. And let me get the focus locked in. And this was the fastest car that he raced, and this is car number in our fleet. It's car number 38, and it is just listed as the Racing Stalker. But anyone who is interested in Hot Wheels or remembers these cars from back in the 80s, this is pretty much just referred to as the Mountain Dew Stalker, the Gold Hot Ones Stalker, the Mountain Dew Gold Hot Ones, because obviously it's got the Mountain Dew labeling and color, but it also has the Gold Hot Ones wheels, which you can see as it comes around. And these were, I believe the axles are nickel plated on these versions, and sort of similar to the Faster Than Ever wheels. These cars tend to be faster. There's less friction, so the cars roll a lot more smoothly. And he was saying that this was one of his favorite cars, which I can relate to because it was one of my favorite cars. And this is actually one of the cars that I had when I was a kid. And I have some others because there was another one he mentioned, the Flat Out 442, which I also have here. There were lots of versions of these. Mostly I remember there was a yellow. There were different colors of these. And this was another one that I have. And you can tell most of the cars that I had when I was a kid, I played with them. And I wasn't trying to collect them, to keep them in a package or keep them in mint condition. I played with the cars. And as a result, you can see that the cars have a lot of wear and tear. And unfortunately, most of the cars, not most, but a lot of the cars that I had when I was a kid, because I was playing with them outside and rolling them on the ground and all of that, the tires are pretty beat up. And in a lot of cases, the axles are bent, and which doesn't really make a difference if you're just rolling around playing it and you're a kid, but trying to race it on the track, a bent axle basically means that the tires and the wheels aren't going to spin properly, and there's going to be a lot of grinding and friction, and the car is going to try to swerve off to one side or the other, so they can't race. And this is an example of one where the axle is bent, the wheels don't spin so well, and I can't take it to the track. I've seen online that you can change the axles and the wheels, but I haven't seen anybody just selling the plastic wheels. Most of the wheel swaps are the Real Riders or the rubber wheels, and those are no good on our track because they're too much friction and they're too slow, and those cars don't do well at all. And I've seen one or two options where you can do that without having to drill into the bottom of the car, which is something that I don't want to do. And until I can figure out some way or find someone who can swap out the wheels with plastic wheels and not have to drill into the car, then I'll just have these older cars set aside. However, that is for the flat out 442. But I also have one sitting here, an old Roger Dodger, which again I played with, and you can see that it is pretty beat up. And that's just how it was. And this one is another one that I can't necessarily put on the track because the wheels are not in good condition, which you can kind of see if I can. Let me see if I can kind of zoom in and get a little better. You can kind of see. I'm locking the focus. Yeah, you can see there. See how the wheels are very, very damaged. And there's not really a lot that I can do about that at this point. And you can see even the front wheel, just a lot of damage. They actually look, when you zoom in, they kind of look like real tires in a sense. But that's no good on the track. However, luckily with this car, I actually have another one, and the other one that I have that I remember as a kid, somehow I ended up with two of these, and the one that I ended up with was just fine, and there was no problem. But again, the good news for this situation is that this, turn that car in there. For this Mountain Dew Stalker, this one I didn't play with it outside all that much, and so it's in pretty good condition. And it's in good enough condition that we can take it to the track and race it. So, custom Hot Wheels Philo B. Dow, I will be taking this car to the track and racing it against one of these other cars. So what I'm thinking is one of these cars that I'm choosing today is probably going to be too big to fit in the track, on the track. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. But if it does not, and whether it does or doesn't, I'm going to take this Mountain Dew Stocker, slide it in there, and so it is going to be a part of the At the Track Live tournament, and we will see how it performs. So that is coming up. Now, we're going to see what are the other cars that are going to be challenging the Mountain Dew Stocker and ultimately the Group C Fantasy car for track supremacy. So let's start with, I mentioned last week the reason why At the Track Live was on Sunday instead of Saturday was because I had gone to NHRA drag race, the Winter Nationals here in Pomona, California, and it was raining, and then the rain stopped, and then they eventually dried the track, and then it started raining again, and we went through that cycle a few times, but finally the track was dried off, the sun came out just enough, and the cars raced, and it was an incredible thing to see as a first-time NHRA drag racing viewer, live in person. And I decided, you know what? In honor of that, I am going to pull out a couple of funny cars and stock drag cars that I have in storage and enter those into the fleet and take those to the track. The first will be this one, this Mustang NHRA Funny Car, which the thing that's interesting about this is at the NHRA event, like anytime you go to a sporting event or a concert, you're going to expect to pay more than you would out in the normal world. So if you want a hot dog, it's not going to be $1.50 like you find at Costco. It's going to probably be $5, $6, just some outrageous pricing. Well, in the gift shop, the NHRA gift shop, they had clothing and stickers and all kinds of things, but they also had models of the cars, and they had die-cast cars, which included this one, the Mustang NHRA Funny Car. They were charging, for this same car, this car right here, they were charging $15, $15 for this car. This car is still in the stores. It's not like it's an older car and they just happen to have them available. This car, you can go to Target, Walmart, at my local grocery store. This was $1.18. But at the NHRA event, it was $15. Nevertheless, we have the Mustang NHRA Funny Car. So I'm going to crack this open. We're going to take a look at it and see if it is going to be as fast as the actual car. So here we go. Let's crack this open. Okay. And let me get it over here. Whoa. I changed the lighting setup for the cars, so I'm still trying to get used to that. Let's get this car over here. All right, there we go. Got it all set up, and let's take a look. All right, so we have the, still trying to, let's see, adjust the, adjust the light properly. Okay, so here we have the NHRA Mustang Funny Car, and I might as well, since I already got it lined up, let's see, just trying to figure out how best to light this. I guess the pictures are very important, because the pictures and the video, because there is an online version of All About Aerodynamics, and in the online version, obviously, the students are not going to have the opportunity to see the car in person. And because of that, I want to make sure that there is a video available so they can see a 360-degree view and make their choice appropriately. And I will enter this car into the spreadsheet. This is car number 610. It is the Mustang NHRA Funny Car. And I didn't check the year yet, as it comes around. And these cars, the sound that these cars made was just incredible. And if you get a chance to go to an NHRA event, really just, I would suggest go. The cars were traveling in excess of 300 miles an hour on a quarter mile, which was just amazing. Like, for them to go from a complete standing start, taking off, and as I said, the noise was incredible. I've been to NASCAR events, and at NASCAR, the sound is pretty wild. It's so loud. You'll see people who know better and go to NASCAR events on a regular basis will have, let me just get this locked in here, zoom in a bit. People who go to NASCAR events on a regular basis you'll see them they'll have earplugs, sometimes headphones, to protect their ears from just the noise and the sound. But with NASCAR events, the sound it's this constant roar of the engines. Now, depending on where you're sitting, you may only get the loudest part of that roar when the cars pass by. But nevertheless, it's pretty, I'd say it puts a strain on your ear. It definitely puts a strain on your ears, and it is really loud, where at a NASCAR event you need to have the headphones, or the earplugs rather. Let's see, let's get this picture. Okay, but at the NHRA events, it turns out that the sound is probably equally as loud, and a lot of people did in fact have earplugs. But the difference was the cars are only that loud for a few seconds when they're at the starting line, and then when they take off, the sound spikes up and is super loud, but then the car is gone. Because this is 300 miles an hour, these cars are gone. So your ears aren't subjected to the constant roaring of the engine. So it's definitely, and you feel it when these cars take off. You feel it in your body, just like everything is like rattling and shaking, and then the car is gone. It's incredible. So if you get the opportunity to go, just go. All right, so here we go. We have the Mustang NHRA Funny Car, which is the first car that is going to be in today's lineup. Well, second if you count the Mountain Dew Stocker. And I don't know how this will perform, because our track is unique. Now I showed last week that I had a old drag racing car, or funny car from when I was a kid, this one that opens up, and I don't recall if we put it on the track or not, but this is metal on metal. This car is very heavy. In fact, I have my trusty scale here. So let me tell you exactly how much this car weighs. This one comes in at 62.4 grams. So this is extremely heavy. This was the old funny car. The new funny car, which, let me look for the year, 2020. The new stock car comes in at 36.6 grams. And let's just go ahead and take a look at the weight of the Mountain Dew Stocker. 47.7 grams. So this is a metal on metal car, this Mountain Dew Stocker, and that is probably the part that is going to hurt it the most. And the heavier cars on our track, because it's not a gravity track, it's a flat drag track, so being a heavier car doesn't help it. In fact, what you're likely to see is that towards the end of the track, even if the Mountain Dew car, the heavier car, starts off pretty well, toward the end of the track, the last third, gravity will start to work against that car, and whatever car it's racing, if it hasn't already, it will pass it. And that's typically what we see with the metal on metal cars, but you never know. That's why we have to take them to the track, because maybe the Gold Hot Ones wheels will sort of help the car have enough momentum to keep up its speed, or at least keep up enough speed to win the race over the course of our 1/64th scale quarter mile track. So, all right, so we have the NHRA Mustang Funny Car, and so I also decided, you know what, I think I have another drag car in the storage, and it turns out I do, and it is this one. This is the '86 Ford Thunderbird Pro Stock car, and there were Pro Stock races, and they're different. I'm not familiar enough with NHRA yet to be able to describe how and why the cars are different, but there were Pro Stock cars that looked more along like this, and then there were the funny cars, which are typically the ones that have the huge tires in the back and the smaller tires in the front, like the Mustang Funny Car we just looked at. But this is the '86 Ford Thunderbird Pro Stock, so we'll go ahead and crack this open and take a closer look at this thing. Okay, let's get this over here. Okay, and now we have the, what year was it? The '86 Ford Thunderbird Pro Stock car, and that's a good looking car. I don't know how it will perform. One thing I already don't like is the front wheels, the way that they are tucked so far underneath the body. And let me get my handy dandy pointer out. So you see, like right here, how far tucked underneath the body, the front wheels are. And I usually like cars where the wheels are pushed out even with the body, and they tend to not have as much movement on the track as cars where the wheel base is very narrow. So we will see how this car performs, but first let me get a picture here. So we've got our still picture, okay, and of course I need to get a video. There we go. Always want all of the videos going in the same direction. So we'll lock this focus in. I will grab the video of the 86 Ford Thunderbird Pro Stock car. So this is car number 611. 86 Ford Thunderbird Pro Stock. And I will have to check the year on that one, just to be sure. But one of the things I mentioned that I always look at is the rear end of the car and whether or not it's flat, because a car with a flat back end is going to have more surface area touching the launching block, and it's going to get a better push. And this one appears to be flat. Now, whether or not that little parachute pack sticks out beyond the bumper might make a difference. But my real concern with this car is the wheels in the front. And with them being that close together, I have a feeling that this car is going to start to veer to one side or the other and not get a very good, not really take a straight line heading down the track. So we will see, but that is sort of my initial impression. Let me take a look at the year on this one. The year is 2022, and I'll check the weight. The weight is 38.4 grams, so not nearly as heavy as the Mountain Dew car, but that is our second car, and the year was 2022. So now we've got that. And next up, I ended up with two, well, not even two. I was looking in the storage, and it just so happened that I came across a set of, it wasn't even a set. It just was the way it sort of happened when I reached into the storage bin, and I pulled out I saw three Porsches sitting there. So I figured, why not? Let's have a Porsche race, or a Porsche, all Porsche situation. But I didn't have 6 Porsches, I just had the 3. So I figured we'll go with those. So the first of those is this one. This is a really good looking car. This is the Porsche 911 GT3, and this one I really like. So let's crack this open and take a closer look. What's the year on this one? The year is 2021. So let's crack it open. Oh yeah, this is a good looking car right here. Let's take a closer look. All right, so we've got this one as it comes around. Let me lock in the focus again, and there we go. This one I really like. I like the gold wheels, the red with the black accent on the hood that extends up to the roof. It's got, the back end is flat enough. They even got a little more detailed with the, see, with the license plate. So I like this one. So this is car number 612. It is the Porsche 911 GT3. And just based on the cars we've looked at so far, I think that this one has the most potential to beat out the, or to at least compete with the Group C fantasy car, which is our champion. Now, whether or not it's fast or not, or faster, I have no idea. And who knows, it might not even be the fastest car in today's group. But something about it is just giving me the sense that this car is going to be pretty fast, a pretty good performer. But let me now get the photo. Zoom in a bit. Okay. And that looks pretty good. Right there. I always go with the 3/4 view because I want the students to see as much of the car as possible, especially if they're just viewing online. If I can focus. Let me try and turn it just a little so they can get a little better view of the back end. I think I moved it right back to where it was, so lock that in, take that picture, and there we go. So that is car number 612. That is the Porsche 911 GT3, and I can go ahead and check the weight on this one. This one feels lighter than some of the others. It's coming in at 34.2 grams, so it's a pretty light car. It's plastic base, metal body. So far we have the Mountain Dew Stalker. We have the NHRA Mustang Funny Car. We have the, wait, was it a Mustang? No, it was the Mustang Funny Car. Then it was the Ford Thunderbird Pro Stock car. And then we had the Porsche 911 GT3. And next up is going to be another Porsche. This is the, right here, the orange Porsche 911 Carrera RS 2.7. So we've got another Porsche 911, and we will see which 911 is going to take. I can already see how this is going to set up. It's going to be, the two drag cars are going to face each other. These two Porsche 911s are going to face each other, and then we'll get to the other matchups. So let me crack this open, take a closer look. Okay, here we go. Porsche 911. And a different version. I'm surprised they didn't put the year on this one, but let's take a closer look. We have this one right here, Porsche 911, and we adjust this just a bit. Let's see. Turn it. I again, I kind of want, I think I may go back to, if you look at some of the other pictures that I have from some of the earlier, when you're scrolling through that list, some of the earlier cars that are in there, the angle that I was taking the pictures at, it was sort of a higher, steeper angle. It was still the 3/4 view, but it was kind of a higher angle. And I think that is, it may be what I go back to, because I really have to figure out a way that I want the students to be able to see more of the back end of the car. And usually the pictures are what they're using. Now the video is definitely the best way, but I haven't posted all of the videos. What I'm considering doing is just posting these on the YouTube channel, but I would need to go through, and the videos for the cars all have these graphics that have the name and all about aerodynamics branding on them, and I would have to number each of the videos and add all of that information. So if there's a way to automate it, then I might do that, and then all the videos will be there online for the students to take a look at. But right now, these videos are, I haven't figured out exactly the best way to use these yet. So let me see. Porsche 911 Carrera, C-A-R-R-E-R-A, RS 2.7. Okay, so the Porsche 911 Carrera 2.7. All right, so we now have another Porsche in the mix, and let's take a look at the year. The year on this one is 2022, and I will check the weight. The weight is 27.3 grams. So this is the lightest car of the group. And light cars, because sometimes students will overcompensate, and instead of, once they realize that a heavier car is not going to perform well on the track, then they think, well, if the heavy car doesn't perform well, maybe I should go to the other end and pick the absolute lightest car that I can find. So they pick very small cars. The problem is that our launcher shoots the cars out with so much force that small cars tend to get just thrown down the track with so much force that they fly off the track and don't stay put. Now, we have had success with metal on metal, some older, smaller cars from the 90s that are metal on metal, and even though they're smaller, because it's metal on metal, they do have a little bit of weight to it. So there is, if you're going to pick a smaller car, my suggestion is to pick a metal on metal smaller car instead of a plastic on metal or plastic on metal or metal on plastic car. So that's just a little tip, but you're free to visit AtTheTrack.live. Go to choose a car, go to this page, and you're free to scroll through and find the car that you think would be fastest in a series of races, or not in a series of races. Well, yeah, it's a series of races because it's best 2 out of 3. Find the car you think would be fastest. So if you think that, let's see, if you think that this Justice League Batmobile would be faster than the Porsche 911 Carrera RS 2.7, then all you'd have to do is click on it, take a look, say, oh yeah, okay, I think that's the car, And then once you're sure that's the car, you just take that number and drop it in the chat, and I will pull the car. And after I've pulled the car, then we'll take it to the track, see if you're right or if you were wrong. Either way, you'll be better off for having picked the car and observed the results just like the students. Then you can make a better choice or stick with your same choice depending on the outcome. All right, we are now pretty deep. We have the Mountain Dew stock car is already in the mix, but because Custom Hot Wheels Philo B. Dow brought it up, I decided to go ahead and pull it, and let's see how one of the older cars does on the track, because I haven't raced it really on this version of our track yet. So we pulled out the Mountain Dew stock car. We've got the NHRA Mustang Funny Car. We've got the the Ford Thunderbird Pro Stock drag car. We've got the Porsche 911 GT3, and then we've got the Porsche 911 Carrera RS 2.7. But wait, there are more Porsches to come. This is where it's going to get tricky, because we have this one, gorgeous car, the Porsche 935, and then we also have another one that I picked up this weekend, the Porsche 935. So there are two of these, and they both look great, but I don't want to have duplicate cars. And one thing that I'm not sure of, and I couldn't tell from this one, is whether or not the wheels were rubber. But I think if they were, they would have advertised that. So I'm gonna just go with the presumption that these are plastic wheels. So presuming these are plastic wheels, I have to figure out which car is going to be the one to remain in the fleet and which car is going to have to be set aside as potentially a prize car to be given away to one of the students. But the way that's going to happen, I'm not going to decide. These cars are going to decide. We're going to take them to the track. The winning car will be the car that gets to stay. The losing car will be heading toward the prize bin. And that's pretty much how it works. So those are really the options available for this car. So let's crack open the dark blue one and take a look at that first. So here we go. All right, man, this car's, whew. This car looks even better out of the package than it does in. Let's get this view up right here. Take a closer look, and as it comes around, I will take the video. Even though I should probably race these first so I know which one is going to be entered in, but I'm taking the video of both. Yeah, maybe we should do that first. Although this video, I might as well let it finish. Yeah, we'll just take a look at the other one. Then go to the track. Yeah, so I won't take a video of the next one or shoot the picture until we determine which one is actually going to be the one that stays. But this car, I don't know if it comes across on the video, but the paint, it's got a metallic gleam to it. The dark blue, the metallic, it's got the bold gold and orange stripes coming around the Porsche badge. This is a nice looking car, and both versions All right. So we've got that one. And we will wait to see which one gets to stay. So let me put that one there. And then the other one, the one that I just picked up, is this one. Now, if it turns out to have rubber wheels, then there's no question which car is staying. The one with the plastic wheels. But I don't know. So let me crack this open. Whoa, just dropped it. All right. The wheels are plastic, so we will have a race. So let's just go ahead and we'll just take a look at this one. It's the same car, just with a different paint scheme. And this one I like. This one I like a lot as well. So one of these two cars will get to stay. Which one, I do not know. So I will just put in the meantime, we know that position 614 will be a Porsche 935. Porsche 935. But which one? I do not know. I like the wheel combination on this. The gold with the blue. That blue is just very bold, stands out. These are two great cars. So those are going to be the two that we will have to wait and see which one wins. Whichever one wins their matchup will be the one to stay in the fleet. The other one will be a prize car that some lucky kid will get to select if they are paying attention during the class, answering questions, etc. Then that could be theirs. So everybody wins. Now the last car that is going to be entered for today, I saw this one, and this is the one that I'm saying I don't know. I think it might be a little too big, but it is based on the double-decker buses that you would see in England, I suppose. And it is this one. It is called the Trouble Decker. And it is a double-decker bus that has been turned into a hot rod, Hot Wheels car. It's very tall. Very tall. It may be one of the tallest cars that we've potentially raced. And it's interesting because usually if a car is this tall, it's going to be pretty wide. And it's going to be too wide to fit on the track, fit in the launching bay. But this one is definitely narrow enough to fit in. But the question is this height. And when it gets pushed out, because this is clearly going to be too tall for me to put, there's an acrylic cover that I slide over the cars because the launcher pushes the cars out with so much force, they tend to go up into the air initially. The acrylic cover allows the cars to hit the cover, bounce back onto the track, and stay straight and continue to race. This car is too tall. I have a taller cover for taller cars, but this car is too tall for that. It's just too tall. So, I am going to have, this is going to have to race without any type of cover above it. And that could possibly lead to this thing falling off the track. But we're going to crack it open. We're going to take a look. All right. The Trouble Decker. First of all, let me just see how much this thing weighs, because it's a metal base and a plastic body, but there's so much plastic. And this comes in at 49.4 grams. So this is definitely a big vehicle. So let me get it on the turntable so that we can take a look at this. But as big as it is, I still think it's a great looking car. So let me get the video rolling. here. The Trouble Decker. You can see it's got the little engine on the side there. The exhaust pipes. Look at the stance. It's stanced up. It's ready to go. So this is car number 615. This is the Trouble Decker. Yeah, it's got the wing in the back. It's even got the parachute. Check that out. It's ready. It's a drag car. NHRA. Hey, these funny cars, this one might be looking to give you some competition. Oh, it's got the El Segundo, because El Segundo, California, of course, is where Mattel is, their headquarters is located. The Trouble Decker, part of their Metro series. They've had some cool rides. I like that surfing school bus, and there have been a few more where they've made buses cool somehow. We got this coming around. Stop. I think they could have it would have been nice to have a little more detail in the front there with the headlights and the grille, but I'm not going to complain too much. I'm sure there will be other versions of this if there aren't already. And let me just line it up so I can get the still picture. This thing is huge. I have no idea. Again, I like the fact that it's narrow because that means it will be able to fit on the track in the launcher. But what happens after that, I have no idea because it is it's anybody's guess what will happen with this. So let me just try and get it lined up. As big as it is, this seems okay right there. And yeah, let me turn it just a little bit. That's good. And there we have it. So we have the Trouble Decker, which actually, yeah, that's still plastic. Okay. We have the Trouble Decker, the gigantic. Plus, let me check the year, 2022. I'm surprised I haven't seen this one before. Okay, so now we're set up for a good series of races. It seems like there are a lot of cars. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 cars, but that also includes the Group C Fantasy, which will just sit back to the side and wait for the winning car. But we have to get these races underway and get started. But before we race, I just want to remind you that what you will be seeing when we are racing these cars. So this is a view of the track, and what you're looking at is a 3-camera view of our track, and on the far left side at the top, that is where the cars will start. That is the launcher. I will give a countdown, 3, 2, 1, race, and the cars will come shooting out of that launcher, flying towards the bottom of the screen. After they pass out of the bottom of the screen on the left, you can pick them up at the top of the screen in the middle, and they will come flying through the middle section of our track straight toward the bottom. Once they pass out of the bottom of the middle section, you can pick them up on the far right at the top on our finish line cam, and the cars will come flying down from the top to the bottom, and they will cross the finish line. When they cross the finish line, our finish line will indicate the winning car with a solid red light. There is going to be a solid red light for the winning car and a flashing red light for the losing car. And it's pretty simple. The cars will alternate lanes between races. It's best 2 out of 3. And once the cars switch lanes, run the race. Now, crashes. If a car crashes twice consecutively, then that car is disqualified. And I'm looking at you, Trouble Decker. If the Trouble Decker or any other car crashes twice consecutively, then it's just disqualified, because usually if a car crashes twice in the same way, there's some issue with the car and the launcher and all of that that isn't going to change just by running the races again and again. So if a car crashes twice consecutively, it is eliminated. And if a car crashes once, we just restart the race and run it again. So we have had cars that have crashed multiple times, but it hasn't been consecutively. If it's not consecutively, they can keep on going. So it's best 2 out of 3, and that is how it all works with At the Track and with our races. So let me just moving this box there. Okay. And I think we are, with that, we're all ready to go. And let me check one thing. We've got all of these cars. So many cars. It's wild. So I am going to gather up all of these cars and head over to the track, and then we will see which car is going to emerge victorious. We've got some very interesting races, because we've got 2 Porsche 911s, we've got 2 Porsche 935s, but the Porsche 935s have to compete just to see which car gets to stay in the fleet. And that is going to be interesting. And I think there are no losers on that end. We've got the biggest car, the tallest car we've ever raced, with the Trouble Decker. And we also have the throwback, the Gold Hot Ones Mountain Dew Stocker in there, just to see if it has what it takes almost, 40 years after it was released? We will see. So I am going to gather up these cars, and I will see you at the track in about 30 seconds. See ya. Okay, so here we are. I've got to just double check the sound, make sure everything is working where it should be. There we go. Yep, we've got sound. And now it is time to get these races underway. So we are going to start off with the Porsche matchup, the match to see which of these cars is going to stick around and which one is going to end up in the prize bin. So we will line up both of these Porsche 935s. We have the dark blue version, and we also have, I just noticed, because I was saying how the dark blue version had sort of a metallic paint job. Turns out that the light blue one also has that same light metallic color in the paint. So the light blue Porsche 935 is going to be in lane number 1. The dark blue version is going to be in lane number 2. Dark blue lane 2, light blue lane 1. So, best 2 out of 3. This to see which of these cars gets to stay. Just looking down the track, making sure everything looks good. And I think I'm going to have to, hang on, one of the tripods is kind of off to the side and it's hanging over the edge of the track, which it should not be doing. Let's get that in position, because we did have an issue about 2 months ago where I didn't adjust the tripod properly, and one of the cars actually bumped into it and slowed down, and it just caused a problem. But all right, we are ready to go, and here we go. So in lane number 2 is the dark blue Porsche 935, and lane 1 is the light blue version. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Okay, dark blue takes race number 1, smashes into the barrier, and flips around. The race was close, as it should be. The race should be close because these cars are exactly the same. The only difference is the paint scheme and the color. So the weight is the same. The materials used are the same. Everything is the same. Now the wheels are a little different. On one hand, we have the 5-spoke wheels, and the other has just a version with the gold circle around the wheels. So we'll see what happens. These are great looking cars. I almost want to keep them both, but that wouldn't be the thing to do. Let's see. All right. Time to get these cars lined up, switch sides. So now the light blue car is in lane number 2, and the dark blue car is in lane number 1. If I can get it lined up correctly. Oh, doesn't want to stay. These cars are eager to get down the track. All right, here we go. So we switch side. Porsche 935 grudge match. This is the light blue version in lane 2, dark blue version in lane 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. There you have it. The dark blue version takes the win and is going to be the car that represents for the Porsche 935s. That is how it has happened. That is what we've got. The 75th anniversary edition is going to be the version that gets to stay. And unfortunately, this absolutely gorgeous light blue version, nope. So that is the first car that's moved on. So now let's go with the drag cars. So we have the Pro Stock car against the Mustang. So it's Mustang versus the Thunderbird. And let's get these lined up here. And we will go with the Thunderbird in lane number 2 and the Mustang in lane number 1. Now I'm already noticing right now that the Mustang is a very narrow car, and because it's so narrow, it's likely to sort of bounce around on the track, which is what tends to happen with narrower cars. So when you're making your selections, a narrow car is not necessarily the way you want to go. You want to go with a bit of a wider car. But on the other hand, the Thunderbird is wider at the back, but then it gets narrow at the front. So it's going to be an interesting race to see how these cars move down the track. So here we go, race number 1. Three, two, one, race. Okay. Nice. The Mustang Funny Car looked pretty quick. It had a little bit of a wobble, that narrow car wobble to it, but not so much that it seemed to hinder it. It didn't slow it down as much as we see a lot of the cars with that wobble get slowed down. So round 1 goes to the Mustang Funny Car. We'll switch sides, switch lanes, and run it again. Okay. The Mustang Funny Car will be in lane number 2. And the Thunderbird will be in lane number 1. Just trying to make sure these cars are pressed up right against the launching block. And it looks like they are. And I think we are good to go. So, here we go. We've got the Mustang Funny Car in lane 2, the Thunderbird Pro Stock in lane number 1. Race number 2, let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Okay, same result, different sides of the track, and the Mustang Funny Car takes that 2 in a row, and we'll be moving on. That was a pretty clean race. It's interesting because typically, like I said, narrower cars bounce around the track a lot, and as they hit either side of the track, that friction just slows them down so much. But that's not the case here. So we have the Mustang Funny Car moving on along with the Porsche, and now we will go with the other Porsche matchup, which is the Porsche 911 Carrera RS 2.7 versus the Porsche Carrera 911. I'm sorry, the Porsche 911 GT3. So let's get these lined up. And if you recall, the smaller Porsche, the Carrera, is very light. It is, I think it was, 27 grams? It's probably the lightest car that we've had in a while. Uh-oh. Oh, well, it fit. Ooh. This other Porsche just fits in the launching block. Just barely. It's a wide car. So the question is, it fits in, but if it even veers a little bit to one side or the other, there's going to be a lot of friction coming out of the launching block, which means that friction is going to slow it down. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but we're about to find out. So here we go. Race number 1, Porsche 911 versus Porsche 911. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Woo! And the wideness, the the width of the Porsche, the GT3, it didn't impact it at all. The smaller Porsche just didn't have the speed that it needed. But let's switch up sides of the track and see what happens. Okay. So these cars look good. And we're going to put the smaller, the Carrera, in lane number 2. We will put the wider. It's really just the back end, because the back end fenders kind of flare out, and it presses right, I mean, it's right at the margin of just almost being too big to fit in the track, but it does fit, and we are ready to race. Okay, so we've got the Carrera in lane 2, we've got the GT3 in lane number 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Not even close. So, the Carrera, the lightest car that we've raced in a while, because it came in at 27 grams, I believe. I keep saying that, so I think that's what it is. Either way, it is out. And the Porsche that had the wider back end moves on. So now we're up to a very interesting matchup here. It is the racing stocker, the Mountain Dew racing stocker with the gold Hot Ones wheels, versus the Trouble Decker, which is the giant bus. Now, because let me check before I make any definitive statements, but I'm pretty sure that the Trouble Decker is too tall to use the acrylic cover. So let me just check. I don't want to be presumptuous, but I am right. It is too tall to use that cover. So, unless I can try something. Let me try something here. I have an extra piece of acrylic. Let's see. Will this work? Yeah. Okay. I found a way to use the acrylic piece. I don't know. It's what I'm trying to do is, yeah, I think I found a way for it to work. So we may be able to use this acrylic piece after all. So let me put the Trouble Decker in lane number 1. If I can get it pushed up against the starting block. Okay. So it's in lane number 1, and then we're going to put the Mountain Dew stocker in lane number 2. I'm going to try it first with no cover and see if these cars can just make it down the track. And we'll try that. So here we go. We're going to have the Trouble Decker in lane number 1 and the Mountain Dew stocker in lane number 2. And we will see what happens. No acrylic cover. We're just going flat out. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, race. So the acrylic cover is clearly necessary. As you can see, that is what tends to happen when there is no cover. I predicted that, with especially with the car being as tall as it is. I'm going to have to use the acrylic cover to keep this treble decker on the track. So let's see if I can do that. Also need to make just one other quick adjustment here. Hang on. With this is just a little production issue because hang on just a sec. I have a second screen that I set up so I can keep track of the feed, and it just had a little, and I keep track of that on a separate iPad that just did a little reset, so I couldn't see what was happening. But here we go. I am going to set these up, and I'm going to try and use the the treble decker. I'm going to use my sort of hybrid acrylic cover system to keep it on the track, because it is definitely the tallest car that we've had on the track. And usually, as I said, cars that are this tall tend to be wide and don't fit on the track. They're usually trucks. And this one's interesting because it's narrow enough to fit on the track, but it's so tall that I need to make this adjustment to keep it on. Now, meanwhile, what's lost in all this and the crash of the treble decker is the fact that the Gold Hot Ones Mountain Dew Stocker performed perfectly. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to put the cover over the treble decker, and we're going to redo this race. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Whoa. Okay, so the treble decker lost, but proof of concept. So using the modified acrylic cover did help keep it on the track. It is narrow, and I did notice it bouncing back and forth as it went down the track, but it made it down the track, and it was relatively competitive race, so that's good to know. And we will just switch this around, and they will change lanes. The Gold Hot Ones, it's hard to tell though if the Mountain Dew Stocker is fast or if it is just racing a slower vehicle and therefore looks fast. We will find out, because I presume it is going to be able to beat the treble decker and move on. But you never know, which is why we run the races. So we've got treble decker, lane number 2 this time. Trying to get it pressed up right against the launching block, which it doesn't seem to want to do, but it must be pressed up against there. Otherwise, it is going to have no shot. All right, so we've got the treble decker in lane 2. We've got the Mountain Dew Stocker in lane 1, and this is race number 2. Let's see what happens. adjustment here. Three, two, one, race. Are you kidding me? The trouble decker wobbled its way down to the finish line and actually took that race. I was not expecting that at all. And it suggests to me that, remember what I was saying that happens with the heavier cars. And that is, oh wait, I also got to make sure that this, because this trouble decker is so tall that I'm trying to make sure that it's not touching or scraping against the tripod. So it's going to be in lane number 1. So I'm making an adjustment just to make sure that there's no chance that it hits. Let me check the other tripod. Make sure that if it's on that inside part of the track, okay, it will not hit. Okay, so the trouble decker was able to win that race, but what I said was these older Hot Wheels cars, the metal on metal, which is what the Mountain Dew Stalker is, the older cars are heavier. And on a gravity track, that works in their favor, but this isn't a gravity track. And what typically happens with the older cars, with the heavier cars, is that they get toward the last third of the track, which is what I said, and they start to slow down. And that's when they get caught. That's exactly when they get caught. So, and that's what we saw there. And if we see it again here, then the trouble decker will be moving on, which is something I didn't think I'd see. Okay, so we've got the trouble decker in lane 1. We've got the Mountain Dew Stalker in lane 2. So let's see what happens next. This is the third and final race. Whichever car takes this is moving on. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Okay, well, we'll have to run that one again because the trouble decker smashed into a barrier coming right out of the gate. So, crash always results in a restart around here. So, let's get this car lined up again. In lane number 1. Let me go get the Mountain Dew Stalker, which is, again, it's hard to determine. It seems like it's fast, but after losing to the trouble decker, I don't know what to make of it, and I can't go on record as saying it's fast until I see it race against cars that I know are fast. But this is an interesting matchup, so let me get it lined up again. Mountain Dew Stalker, lane number 2. Trouble decker, lane 1. Let's see what happens. Third and final race. Three, two, one, race. The trouble decker tried, and that race was a lot closer than I expected, but in the end, the Mountain Dew Gold Hot Ones car pulled out the victory, and we'll be moving on. The Trouble Decker, the tallest car that we have ever raced, did a good job, although I am going to have to remember that I will have to have this modified acrylic cover so that it can stay on the track. But it did a good job. It flew off the track once, and that was with no cover. I modified the acrylic cover for the next race, and it actually lost. Raced again, it won, and in that last race, it was pretty close. But nevertheless, we're down to 4. We have the Porsche 935 that won the dark blue version, that won the shootout with the light blue version. We have the Porsche 911 GT3. We have the Mustang Funny Car, and we have the Mountain Dew Stocker. I say let's not lose this momentum with the Mountain Dew car, and let's go Mountain Dew versus Mustang Funny Car in this next race. Okay, so I no longer need the modified version of the acrylic cover. Take this up here, and we'll go with the Mountain Dew car. It can start off in the lane where it just took the victory, and that is lane number 2. And we'll put the Mustang Funny Car in lane number 1. Get this lined up. Yeah, almost. Got to get it pressed up right against the launching block. That's the key. All right, got it. So we've got the Mustang Funny Car lane 1. We've got the Mountain Dew Stocker in lane number 2. Let's see what happens. Race number 1. Three, 2, 1, race. Woo! Very interesting. Very interesting. The Mountain Dew Stocker takes it, and it's like the opposite happened. Usually, as I said, the heavier cars tend to slow down at the back end of the track. And in this case, it was the opposite. The Mustang Funny Car started to slow down at the back end of the track, and the Mountain Dew Stocker just passed it right at the end. So we are going to switch lanes and see if this Mountain Dew Stocker can continue its run. So we're going to go with the Mountain Dew Stocker in lane number 1, and the Mustang in lane number 2. Okay, so here we go. Mustang lane 2, Mountain Dew Stocker lane 1. Second race. Three, 2, 1, race. Woo. Mountain Dew Stocker pulls it off and is moving on to the finals. So I don't know if I saw that coming, because again, the heavier cars tend not to do as well as the lighter cars. But this Mountain Dew Stocker is proving everybody wrong. And so Custom Hot Wheels Philo Bidoo, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but this was the one you wanted to see, and this is the one that's getting the job done. So the Mustang Funny Car will retire, and we'll now go with the Porsche matchup, which is going to be the 911 GT3, this red one, versus the Porsche 935, which is the dark blue one that won the shootout. So here we go. Let's get them lined up. Okay, so we'll put the 935 in lane number 2. And this other one, the 911, this is the one where the rear fenders flared out, and so it's wider at the back. That is going to be in lane number 1. So here we go. We've got the 911, the GT3 in lane 1, and we've got the 935 in lane 2. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Woo. Those cars were moving, but the 935 takes it, and takes it basically, I want to say with ease, because that race was not all that close, but we are not done. We have seen cars come back from deficits before, so these cars are going to switch sides of the track, and we are going to see if we're going to have a third race, or if one of these cars, the 935, is just going to go ahead and face the Mountain Dew Stalker in the finals. Okay. So, switching sides, putting the GT3 in lane number 2. Trying to get it pressed up against the launching block. Okay. And the 935 in lane number 1. Looks good. So, here we go. We have the second race. If the GT3 doesn't take it, then we're going to be looking at the Mountain Dew Stalker versus the 935. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. 935 took it with ease. So this is what we're going to have. We're going to have 935 versus the Mountain Dew Gold Hot Ones Stalker. So this is going to be to find out which car is today's champion, and then which of these cars is going to then be able to challenge the Group C fantasy car for the fastest in fleet title. All right. Here we go. Let's get these cars all set up. We will have we'll put the 935 in lane number 2. We will put the Stalker, the Mountain Dew Stalker, which was manufactured in 1982. Wow. Okay. Stalker is going in lane number 1. It is lined up and ready to go. This is the final matchup. Here we go. Race 1. Stalker, lane 1. Porsche 935, lane 2. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. The Stalker took it. That race was very close. The Stalker got down and took it. I thought it was going to get caught at the end as with the heavy car slowdown, but it has not. That has not proven to be the case. So we now have the chance that this car from 1982, one of the cars that I had when I was a kid, is going to be today's champion. There's a chance, but it's not over yet. We do have to switch lanes. And once we switch lanes, we are going to be able to determine, let's get this thing lined up right. Okay, and so we've got the 935 in lane number 1. We have the Mountain Dew Stalker in lane number 2. The Mountain Dew Stalker is already up 1-0. If it wins this race, it will be today's champion. If the Porsche wins, then we will have a third and final race. So let's see what happens. Three, 2, 1, race. Oh. Okay. So now the Porsche has taken the race, and it was close, but it held on for the win. I thought once again it might get caught there at the end, but that's not what happened. So we're going to have a third and final race to determine which car is today's champion. Is it going to be the Mountain Dew Stalker from 1982, or is it going to be this Porsche 935 from 2021? We will see. So now the Mountain Dew car is in lane number 1, and we have the Porsche that already won the shootout with the other 935 in lane number 2. So here we go. This is the third and final race to determine which of these cars is today's champion. So here we go. Three, 2, 1, race. Oh! The Stalker pulls it out. That race was so close, and I can't wait to go back and look at the video. But the Stalker, the 1982 Mountain Dew Racing Stalker, has pulled it off with the gold Hot Ones wheels, coming out of retirement. It wasn't even out of retirement. It's just that no one picked it. And it is today's champion. And now we will get to see how fast this car truly is, because it is going to take on our fastest in fleet car, which is the Group C Fantasy. So let me get these lined up. The Mountain Dew car will be in lane number 1. And the Group C Fantasy, our fastest in fleet car for the past couple of weeks, will be in lane number 2. If I can get the wheels aligned, get it set up. Okay, it is in lane number 2. So we have today's champion, the Mountain Dew Stalker, in lane 1. We have the Group C Fantasy car, our current fastest in fleet, in lane 2. This is the first race. Let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1, race. What is happening? What is happening? The 1982 Gold Hot Ones Mountain Dew Stocker just beat the Group C Fantasy Car in a race that was not close. Was not close. Okay? And it's defying all of the previous, I want to say stereotypes, but everything we've seen from the heavier cars in the past suggests that when they get to the back end of the track, they don't maintain their speed and they get passed. That has not been the case with this Mountain Dew Stocker. We are going to switch lanes and see if this car can become our fastest in fleet car, which I never would have expected. So we are going to set these up again. It is going to be the Mountain Dew Stocker in lane 2. The Group C Fantasy Car, our current fastest in fleet car, in lane number 1. Can the Group C Fantasy Car come back? It's possible that it just got a bad launch, but we will see. It's got to win this race. It has got to win this race, or we are going to have a new fastest in fleet champion. So here we go. We've got the Mountain Dew Stocker in lane number 2. We've got the Group C Fantasy Car in lane number 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Oh, so close. But the Group C Fantasy Car pulls out the win and hangs on to force a third and decisive race. That was very close, and I thought we were on the verge of having a brand new fastest in fleet car, but the Group C Fantasy Car was like, nah, not so fast, my friend. So, it's possible that the Group C Fantasy Car just got a bad start in that first race where it got blown out, but nevertheless, it did get blown out, and so it is 1-1. This next race will determine which car is the fastest in fleet. So we are going to line these up. Once again, the Mountain Dew Stocker with the gold Hot Ones wheels is in lane number 1. The Group C Fantasy Car, our current fastest in fleet car, is in lane number 2. Both of these cars, they're moving away just a little bit from the launching block, which we can't have. That they've got to be pushed up right against it. Okay. This race will determine which car is our fastest in fleet champion. Will it be the Group C Fantasy Car maintaining its title, or will it be this Mountain Dew Gold Hot Ones 1982 Racing Stocker? Here we go. Final race. Three, two, one, race. The Group C Fantasy Car holds on and takes the victory. I'm presuming that it just got a bad start in that first race where it got blown out, because this race was not all that close. That third race was not all that close. But the other races, especially that second race, was extremely close. So let me gather up these cars and head back into the garage, and I'll be there in just a moment to take a look at our winners. So this was definitely an interesting day of racing, and perhaps the most interesting day that we've seen here on At the Track Live, because we had our champion, the Group C fantasy car, which it looked bad. It looked bad. In that first race, it got absolutely blown out. The Mountain Dew Stalker had all of the momentum, and really, I thought we were about to see a brand new champion. I was shocked at how badly it was beaten in that first race. It was wild. It wasn't even kind of close. So it suggested to me that we were definitely about to see a new champion. But as we've seen in the past, I should have withheld my judgment, because we've seen this in the past, that a car loses the first race and comes back and wins the next two. But usually it's a close race to begin with. Like, they might lose a close race and then come back and win two more close races or something like that. But the Group C fantasy car just got blown out in that first race. And I thought, okay, we're about to crown a new champion. And then sure enough, the next race, that second race, was really close. I can't wait to go back and look at the video of that race to see just how close it was. But from my vantage point at the starting line, looking down, I had to check the lights. Usually I can look at the cars and I can tell which one is in the lead, but I couldn't tell, and I had to check the lights to see which car actually crossed first. And it turned out it was a Group C fantasy car. So then we went to that third and final race, and in that third and final race, it was not close. The Group C fantasy car took the win and moved on, but it did make me have to rethink some of my previous perceptions about the heavier cars, the older, heavier cars, because there are a few in our list that have the gold Hot Ones wheels and are metal on metal, and they're going to be heavier cars, because this Mountain Dew car was 47.6 grams, which is very heavy for our track, but it proved that it could hang with the modern cars. And I was surprised that was the case. But we have now found another car that is pretty fast. Like, week in and week out, some of these cars might not be able to beat the fastest car, but we've found some cars that have been surprising with their speed, and this is another one. But nevertheless, the actual fastest in fleet champion, the car that is retaining the title, is the Group C fantasy car. So we will see next week if there is a car that can come up and defeat it. There may be, there may not be. But I'm glad that Custom Hot Wheels, Philo Bido, I'm glad that you mentioned this Mountain Dew car, because typically the students don't pick it, and I don't think that I would have gotten a chance to bring it to the track if you hadn't brought it up. So I appreciate that, and it performed well. So maybe someone will pick it in the future. We also had the Porsche versus Porsche matchup, the two 935s, and I didn't take the still picture. I started taking the video of this one, and I didn't take the still picture because we were just going to wait and see which of these two cars actually made it into the fleet, and it turns out that this is the car that made it. And so I am going to take the still picture now, and let's see, in here, actually, let me just want to wipe there were some fingerprints right on it. Let me wipe the fingerprints off and get it back on here, looking its very best. And there we go. And I think that's a pretty good 3/4 view we've got going there. Let me move it up just a bit. Turn it. This. Okay. Pretty good view. Got there. Lock in the focus. And we've got our photo of that car, which beat out this other Porsche that I really like. This one. And this one is another one, the one that it beat out. Let me put this one up here. And again, it's got different wheels, but this one also has the metallic paint, which doesn't necessarily come across here. But I'm also, as I kind of take a closer look, this one appears to be a more premium car, because if you look here, if I turn it, right here, there are little plastic pieces, or maybe those are stickers. I'd have to take a closer look, but there's a lot more detail. There's more detail on this version than the other. And let me take a look. I'm trying to see if right here, if those are, if those are stickers where the headlights are, or if that's actually, no, it's just painted. But it's interesting because it's done in a way that it actually made me think for a second, like, wait, did they put plastic inserts in there? And the answer is no. But this is a really good looking car. But hey, it did not win. And we have to go by the results on the track. And the results on the track say that this other car, the other 935, is the victor. And it weighs in at 34.3 grams. This one should also weigh in at 34.3 grams. But it doesn't. It weighs in at 35.5. So it's slightly heavier. Yeah, 35.3. I weighed it again. So it's slightly heavier. And those races, it just barely lost. So, and looking at these cars, the only difference seems to be the wheels. But something is adding on that little extra bit of weight, and we are getting two cars that are very similar, but there was the difference in the races was very slight. So maybe that gram and a half weight difference, maybe that was the key. I don't know, but we had these two race, and there could only be one, and the one that made it was the dark blue 935, so that one will be entered into the fleet. This other one will be set aside. It will end up as a prize car. And then another super unique car is this one, the Trouble Decker. And this is the one that I never really expected to be competitive at all. But we had to make a modification to the acrylic cover, and it went up against that Mountain Dew Stocker, so it didn't have much of a chance. So I thought, but it actually took one of the races, and I had to modify the acrylic cover a bit to get it to work, but I did, and it worked, so who knew? And so this is a unique car. It's definitely the tallest car that we have had race on our track, but it's narrow, which again I keep pointing out. Usually when Hot Wheels cars are this tall, they're trucks and they're wider and they have wide wheels, but this one is narrow. You can see right there, it's just a narrow car, and it wobbled a little bit going down the track because it's so narrow, as narrow cars tend to do, but it still made it all the way through the finish line. And other than the time, so with no cover, it crashed completely, which is what I expected. And then another time, it did crash into the one of the starting block barriers. But other than that, it made it down the track and was competitive. It won a race, and it won a race against I'm pretty sure it was against the Mountain Dew Stocker. So, hey, here's another car that is one of those unexpected things that unless you take the cars to the track, you just never know. And that is kind of the point, that we don't know. And there are now 615 cars. I have not seen all of these cars race because the students haven't necessarily picked all of these cars. They tend to gravitate to a lot of the same types of cars from school to school, Lamborghinis, a lot of the supercars, the fantasy cars, the character cars, things like that. But rarely do they pick. There's a lot of cars that just don't get picked. And if the cars don't get picked, I have no idea how they'll perform on the track. So it's always nice to see a unique car perform well on the track. So that is today's races. Again, if you want to keep up with everything all about aerodynamics and AtTheTrack.live related, you can go to our Instagram account, AA Aerodynamics, and I will post countdowns there. I post updates and information about the next set of races, and I also do Instagram Live and talk about and give previews of the cars that are going to be racing each Saturday. And this week we will be back to our normal Saturday schedule, and then we will have 6 more cars and have a little mini tournament. We'll review those cars, take a look at them, and then one of those cars will have the opportunity to go up against the Group C fantasy car. If there's a car that you think is faster than the Group C fantasy car, or you think you could pick a car that is faster than that one, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, and you will be taken to this page. And on this page, you can just scroll right through, and you can try and find the car that you think is going to be faster than the Group C fantasy car. If you think it's this Hyperliner, you can select that and take a look at it close up with the view in the mirror, and then you can make your selection. In this case, it would be 254. You would take that 254 and you would drop it into the chat. Once you drop it into the chat, I'll pull the car and we will race. So that is that. Here I see I have 2 of these Road Bandits, and this is something I don't want to do in the future, is have 2 of the exact same cars. So if this had been a few years ago, then I would have had the same kind of shootout we had with the Porsche 935s today, and there would have only been 1. But these 2 got a reprieve, so there are 2 Road Bandits. And if you think that one of these Road Bandits could beat one of the cars that I select next week, then go ahead, take the number. Whether it's the red Road Bandit or the yellow Road Bandit, take the number, put it into the chat, and I will pull the car and race it. So, if you would like more information about aerodynamics, all you have to do is go to our website, aaerodynamics.com, and you can find out how to bring our program to your students, your school, your organization, your special event, and find out more about our curriculum, online offerings, and just anything that you need to know. If you don't find it there, you can always send me a message through Instagram or through the website. All of our links are in the bio. You can go to the YouTube page, click the live tab, and you can see all of the episodes of At the Track Live. And again, there are time codes on there, so you can just go right to the races. You can go right to the reviews. And in the description, it outlines which cars are going to be featured on that episode. So this episode will be up there immediately as soon as we finish. And then I am going to have to go through and add all the additional information. But that is what I will be doing. So this was a pretty unique episode with some unique cars and some surprising outcomes. And I can't wait until next week. Back on Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific. And check on us through the week on Instagram. And until then, I am Coach James for All About Aerodynamics and At the Track Live. And until next time, I'll see you at the races.